Hey guys, what's going on? This is a follow-up to a bunch of videos I did early on coming back from a distal bicep tendon rupture. I've been meaning to do this for a while. I'm sorry, it just took me a minute to kind of sit down and get my thoughts together and do this. But I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on one kind of an update on where I'm at. Looking back anecdotally, like what worked well for me, what didn't work well, mistakes that I made, things that I think were very beneficial through the process, and just kind of a general kind of, I guess, summary, kind of takeaway as I'm really, on the other end of this thing. I'm again, as far as just where I'm at as of today, everything feels good. My repair's obviously sound. I've got some videos of some lifts that I've been doing. A lot of rows, and I've been banding those rows. I got that from Brian Alsru, who's a beast of a dude, strongman guy out of Pennsylvania. And the reason for that band for me, and again, kind of coming back from this injury, I'm liking on rowing movements or any kind of pulling movements, things with kind of like a constant tension. I think it makes me just control the weight more than if I was just lifting weights or just, like doing like a regular T-bar row. It makes me kind of, drive the elbows back, really use the back muscles primarily, and then, the biceps secondarily. I like the stimulus there. So you'll see a couple of different row variations I do with the band. And I would certainly give those a try once you're, ready for that kind of work. And yeah, I mean, everything feels good. I've still got, the lingering nerve nonsense. I'm so used to that though now, and I have, good days with it, bad days with it. Some things that have helped me when I get those sensations, if you've got one of those little massage guns, the Theraguns or whatever, I've just, kind of hit it with that, and that's definitely, provides some relief. To this day, I mean, I had a pull day today, and, sometimes I'll go and I'll do a pull, and, I'll feel just a wonky sensation in my arm. I've learned to just mentally move through those. Early on, 14, 15, 16 weeks, when I got that sensation, I would just drop it. Whatever I was doing, I would just stop. Probably was fine, but it just, a million thoughts race through your head. None of them were good, so that's what I would do. But, now I've kind of just known, like, hey, my PT, who, one of these videos, I've got a sequence on with her with, the dry needling and things. She's also a bit of a sports psychologist in her own right, but she said, listen, you've got a completely new attachment point from what you've had your entire life. And so now you're relearning all of these movements, and things are going to feel just a little off for a while, for maybe a long while. And she's like, but your bicep's good, you're fine. And I really needed to hear that. That was very helpful for me. And I knew that, but again, having someone else kind of just shoot you right between the eyes with it, sometimes that's what you need, right? That's what I needed in that instance. So, yeah, and I mean, and again, I've as far as lifting goes, I've kind of shifted my focus just to strength training for a while. I still box just to kind of make sure I don't get too rusty, but I've really just shifted gears towards lifting, and that is because I just, once I get back to a certain level of strength, mentally, the confidence that comes with that, for me, I'll be ready to dive head first back into that stuff, as opposed to kind of being a little gun shy, because again, that was my, what do they call it, mechanism of injury. So, and really lift wise, I'm able to do, I'm doing pretty much everything. The only exercise I've been a little hesitant on are pull-ups. I knocked out a few sets of 10 with, assisted with like a band. But I just, for whatever reason, I just have not hit a lot of pull-ups. But I'm going to. Like I said, I've been doing some band assisted. No issues there. I feel like I'm just, flying up and down like no problem. But for whatever reason, I leave the band on. But I need to pull that band off and just get going. But at any rate, I just, over the last couple of months, I've gotten some great comments on, just when I say great, just exactly the kind of comments that that I made these videos for, and because I can remember it like it was yesterday when I was kind of at rock bottom, so to speak, and you're just looking for some type of perspective, some kind of insight on, what to expect, what you can do, what might help, what might hurt, what to steer away from. I look forward to answering those or just giving feedback on those, till the day I die, because they were so helpful for me as I went through that process. And so again, I'm just glad to get to share it. And some of the stories are awesome. I mean, guys will write and be like, hey, I'm 7-8 weeks post-op, full range of motion, no nerve sensation. I'm lifting again, with light weights, but I feel great, and it goes back to that kind of individual specificity. Some guys are just gonna, come right back, and some guys it's just gonna take them a little bit longer. I decided right around probably about the 16-week mark, I wasn't gonna judge my progress necessarily until I was 1 year removed, and that's just because I kept going. Okay, well I'm 5 months. I should be able to. And there were a couple of times right around that 5-month mark where I felt really good, and I started just putting the pedal down. And about a week later, I was like, that was a bad idea. Like I wasn't ready for that yet. I could just tell. Like, not that anything was screwed up, but it was just like, hey, easy. Like you've come a long ways. Like, let's not take 5 steps back. Like just wait for it. It will come back. And it really reminded me, I think I shared that story at some point of being at the Highland Games here in Stone Mountain area in Georgia. And I was 7 weeks post-op, still, rocking my sling. And I'm in line, and the dude in front of me is just a behemoth of a dude. I thought he was there as like a competitor or something. But we got to talking, and I was telling him kind of what, my plight was. And he just kind of lit up, and he just threw his arm out. And he had the exact same scar, had the exact same injury. And he was 7 months after the fact. I was like, oh, 7 months, you're great, man. You're out. And he's like, yeah. He's like, definitely, I'm back in it for sure. He's like, but just wait, man. Just be really, really, really patient with it. And I know that's so cliche. Doctors say that, PTs say that, your girlfriend, your wife says that, all your buddies, like, it's like, oh yeah, thanks. I never thought of that. I should take it easy or be patient, whatever. But having the benefit of hindsight now, I understand what that means. And my concept of, how long it was going to take to get back to good was flawed. I just thought like, oh, okay, well, that's for everybody else. At 6 weeks, it's off to the races. That was not the case. And now, what is 6 months? It's a long time. It's a long time, but in the scheme of things, it's not. You only get one opportunity to kind of heal up correctly. And so that gets me to my next point. Things I did well, things I did, I would have done differently. Weeks 1 and 2, no pain pills if you can handle it, and no ice if you can handle it, i.e. no swelling or no pain. Definitely think those things were tremendously beneficial to me early on. I think it just kind of puts your healing mechanisms in overdrive because they're not being dulled, your blood flow is not being restricted. It's just, all hands on deck to fix this trauma that's occurred inside your body. So if you can do those 2 things, I think that's a great 2 great goals to have if you can handle it. Secondly, walking outside as much as you can stand, as much as you care to do. There's 0 downside to doing that. Just don't fall. And then, as far as training, like once you got kind of post 2 weeks, lower body training, I'd probably push that harder, honestly. Like I think I had this, because, there's some tricky things about it, right? You can't really, like at first I couldn't load 45-pound plates. So, I had one arm. And so if I was like doing some squats or something, like sometimes I could get, so I figured out ways to creatively do it. I'd put it on the pins, and I could get a 45 there and then, lift it up, put it into the J hooks and then, go from there. But, I'd have pushed the lower body stuff harder. I think but your whole body is just, it's like I was telling a buddy of mine the other day, like he's like, hey man, how you doing? How you coming along? And I said, well, I don't feel like I'm strong yet, but I don't feel weak anymore, which is if you're going through this process, that makes perfect sense to you. I just felt so weak. There was a guy, he started doing a series of videos. He's going through all this too, Dr. J or something or another. But he was talking about like opening a water bottle or like doing a pepper grinder, you know, and when he was talking about it, I was like, dude, I was me too. Like everything. I was like, I mean, you're so gun shy about some of the most basic life functions. And it takes a long time to kind of come out of that, you know, to realize you're not favoring, you know, your non-surgical arm and you're actually using your repaired arm. It's such a process. And so for me anyways, I mean, again, not everybody. Some folks are just, you know, it's no big deal. And that's awesome. I love those stories, and I feel so good for those people that aren't having, you know, quote unquote, the hard road back. It's running relatively smoothly. So, so lower body training, I would have probably pushed that even harder. I think that would have kind of put off the heaviness that everything felt as I started coming back, you know, and incorporating, you know, both arms again. And single arm training, definitely. I mean, there's no downside to that at all. Again, maybe there's a little bit of a carryover because there's going to be a systemic response when you're training, no matter what, even if it is just one side. But, you know, so yeah, no downside to that. The one thing I probably would have tossed out were the grippers. Those things were great. I think what I should have done is just stuck with like the trainer and then maybe like the next one up, like the, you know, 100-pounder or whatever. I was getting into like, because it's just what I do. Like I just kept getting like, you know, harder and harder grippers to close. And by the end of it, I was working with one that was like, you know, 200 plus pounds. And so, you know, that was not smart. I mean, I would close that thing and I'd be like, it feels a little wonky, you know. Why would I sit there and try and, you know, max out, whatever you want to call it, on a gripper with an arm that's been reattached like that? So, you know, that's something I probably would have, you know, 86 in hindsight. But again, I would have used them, just the, you know, the ones that are much easier to close. And yeah, as far as like doctors go, some of you who watch the other videos know I just completely skipped my 6-week follow-up. I don't know that I really missed out on anything there, but the 12-week follow-up where they check your sockets, that's where, you know, ideally your bone has grown around that tendon again, and your anchor, your hardware is in good shape. That is a really important thing to check. And so I'm really glad I went in for that follow-up and didn't let pride or anger keep me from going back at all, because at one point that was kind of where I was at. But just to get that kind of feedback, to just know that everything is good to go in there, that's a lot of peace of mind you get there, to just know that, you know, 12 weeks, repair is sound, now it's time to really strengthen that tendon and start, you know, rebuilding strength. So that is definitely something I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend, like, you know, never seeing your doctor again, particularly for that 12-week mark. I think is pretty pivotal. That might not even said, like, you know, hey, listen, I don't even really need to see you again unless you have an issue. So I have not seen him since. You know, as far as follow-ups, there's really nothing to check. So that is pretty much it. I've got, like I said, I've got some lifts here, some presses, Z presses. I'm doing some pen presses, just trying to get that pressing strength back to where it was. And then a lot of pulling movements, because I know that's probably a lot more applicable, interesting to just kind of see what I'm doing as far as rebuilding strength and, you know, using that affected area. And so, yeah, I'll probably do, I know I'll do one at the 1 year mark. For sure, because I mean that would probably be the last, you know, installment here. Maybe one in between, and another, you know, 6-8 weeks to just kind of check in. But please, like, if you're in any part of this process and you've got a question or just anything, you just like I said, it just, that to me is one of the beauties of the day and age we live in. I can get real cynical about the world and, you know, all the things that maybe aren't so great about the Internet of Things, but this is one of the things that I think is a real plus, a real positive, just being able to connect with people who are working through a challenge in life, and one that, you know, is certainly not the end of the world, but it's also, you know, it's not a walk in the park by any stretch. So appreciate you giving it a watch, and you know, again, I'm sorry it took so long to do this. You know, luckily there wasn't a whole lot to report on. It was just kind of steady, you know, 10 pounds a week, 1 rep, you know, kind of thing for the last 4 months. And so, you know, I've got some milestone lists I'm wanting to do, and I'll certainly post those up. I want to do you know, 315 for 10 on the RDL. I want to do 10 pull-ups, you know, with just my body weight, and you know, a couple things like that. And you know, once those things are checked off, then, you know, again, I think it's certainly a physical endeavor to come back from, but there's a huge mental component as well, and that is arguably maybe more difficult even than the physical. Just trusting in the repair and the recovery, and that your strength is back and you are able to do the things you were.